But even Jennifer like would joke, like, she's like, you just tried to kill me, it's totally fine. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. Hi, I'm Isabelle Fuhrman. I'm in the new film Unit 234. I play Lori, and I'm here with the Daily Dot, and we are looking through my browser history. I mean, I love to play pretend since I was a kid. Make believe is like my favorite game to play still. My sister, I always joke, was my first director because she would just dress me up and tell me what to do, and I would be like, yeah, totally. We would have plays for our parents. We would do like theatrical musical theater for our dinner guests. I mean, it was like, that was my childhood growing up. And so when I realized that this was something that I could do as a job, it just seemed like a no-brainer. My sister and I did theater camp and ended up getting a small job on Cartoon Fridays. And that was sort of what spurred my obsession with doing this, was being able to make, people laugh and make jokes on camera. And like, I'm such a ham. I was always like, oh, this is great. I love all the camera and the lights and like dressing up and getting to play. And I just realized that was definitely where I thrived. And then, storytelling, as you get older, you start to work on more projects. Orphan was kind of the first film that I had done where that was like a hard work. That was a job. I mean, I was working like 5 days a week. And I remember my weekends, I was just cramming schoolwork in, and I was learning a dialect. I was learning stunts. I was learning an accent. And I just loved every single moment of it. I think since then, I've always kind of checked in with myself. I mean, especially as I was around 20 years old, I was like, is this something I still want to do? And it is what I love to do. I live it, I breathe it. I love being able to be a part of making movies and telling stories. I think it's just such a beautiful way to express yourself. And I feel really fortunate that I get to do it. Oh, I think when I look back on Orphan, I just feel so grateful to have worked with such professionals, like to work with someone like Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard, who are just incredible actors, incredible actors, and who have no ego and no attitude by any stretch of the imagination. I think it really shaped the kind of person that I am on set and how I would like to always be when I work with people. It's come from a place of like, we're doing this together as a team. It's not like, it's not my show or your show. And also just in terms of the themes of that movie, I was 10 and turned 11 when I was filming, and there are a lot of adult themes in that film. And I was really lucky that my parents were really protective of me, but also that the producers and Jama, our director, were sensitive and understanding to the fact that you don't have to explain everything for me to be able to understand it or feel the emotions and the feelings. And I worked with a great acting coach at the time who explained sexual rejection to me at 10 years old as someone doesn't think that you're beautiful. They think you're ugly and they don't like you and they think you're gross. And that is the same feeling, but they didn't have to explain to me what all of that was. And you realize at the meat and potatoes of it, the feeling of what that is what you see in the movie. And it's everyone's kind of adult brain that's attaching the importance to it, which I think is actually kind of cool in its own way. It makes you feel a little bit more grounded in your emotions as an actor. And it's definitely helped me as I've gotten older understand that sometimes just being in the moment and feeling the feeling of what that moment is and riding the wave is the right thing to do to tell the story, rather than to come in with a preconceived idea of what it should be. Because very often when you do that, it feels like a pre-cooked meal. And you want to make something fresh, right there. Yeah, I have a great embarrassing, funny moment. I actually don't think I've ever talked about it really. When we were filming, so it's a big cast. We had all been rehearsing, practicing stunts, everything together, hours and hours in the day. And Gary Ross, our director, who directed Seabiscuit and so many of my favorite films, I was so excited to work with him. And I remember he taught me a very valuable lesson. We were filming the scene where I chase after Katniss at the cornucopia, and I throw a knife at her and she blocks it. And the way that the stunt coordinator had explained is you're gonna pretend to throw the knife, you're gonna drop it on the ground in front of you, and then we're gonna CGI the knife in. And she was very far away from me. I so wanted to do a good job. I was 14 years old. I was so excited to be there. And the first take, the knife fell out of my hand and was flying towards Jennifer. And it obviously didn't hit her. We were so far apart and all of this, but I freaked out. I was I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And Gary came over to me and he was like, Isabelle, don't worry about it. These are not real knives. They're plastic. She was protecting herself. Don't need to freak out about it. Let's just do it again. But stay in it because that was such a good take. And I realized then, I was like, sometimes there are those moments that pull you out of the like make believe and push you into the reality of like, oh my gosh, I could have hurt somebody. But the thing is, we were very, very well taken care of and very safe. And I think I just freaked out for a moment. But even Jennifer like would joke, like, she's like, you just tried to kill me, it's totally fine. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. I mean, you're like 14 years old and like, it's like my favorite book and I'm being a part of the movie. And like, you just screw up that bad on the first day, but it was good. Everybody forgave me and everything was fine. Making that movie was so fun. We were all so young and so it was like summer camp. It was really like summer camp, and it was summer, so I didn't have school. And so we were all just spending so much time together. Like we would go out to eat, we would have potlucks at our house. We would also sneak into the hotel next to our hotel because they had a better breakfast. So we could all eat the like better breakfast, and sometimes we get caught, sometimes we didn't, it was stuff like that, it felt like summer camp. It was great. Oh my gosh, I think Laurie for Unit 234, I was just really grateful that I had a minor obsession with running for a few years and I have good physical fitness and stamina because there were so many nights we were filming where I was just running through the rain at that storage facility over and over and over and again. And I remember at a certain point thinking like, I think I'm getting in the best shape of my life making this movie. I'm just constantly exercising all night long. As far as like preparing for this role, really a lot of it was just memorizing my lines and making sure that I understood where Laurie was at, whether or not she's ready for the life that she and her boyfriend are planning, or if she wants to stay where she is in this sort of rut since her parents have passed away and taking over the family business. And it's through this crazy circumstance that she really discovers who she is. And so for me, a lot of that was just making sure I was present and running as fast as I could. Oh, I think just a lot of jokes. I think that, you work with someone like Jack Houston, who's like a big kid, you're constantly laughing and making jokes with each other. And I think that's part of making a movie that's really intense in terms of its content. You're naturally looking for things to lighten the mood because you're like crying and screaming one minute and they call cut and you realize you're like still surrounded by like 150 people who are all doing their jobs. And so there's something just like naturally funny to that. I think that lightens the mood when you're working on films like this. I feel like every movie and every film is totally unique and different in terms of why you choose to do it. And a lot of it is where you are in your life when you're reading something. I mean, this film kind of came across me when it was like middle of COVID and we weren't sure like what was going on with everything. So a lot of questions actually. So I felt like I kind of related to that part of Laurie's life. I'm like, are things gonna go back to normal? Or am I gonna be like, just stuck in my apartment for the rest of my life? And so there were naturally things like that I think I gravitated towards. In terms of like preparedness, I mean, working on a movie like The Novice, I think really taught me so much just in terms of physically demanding working on a film like that. I had to have so much like stamina and energy. And I think I've been able to carry that through since working on it. I realized like what a blessing it is to be able to like, work a full day from like the stress of the characters going through, socially hanging out with everybody on set and having a good attitude, and then also like ending the day and being able to take care of myself. And I think that's like something that I always try and keep with me from movie to movie. But that movie definitely like shaped me in a lot of ways that have helped me move forward in my life and in my career. Thank you so much, Daily Dot, for having me. Please go and see Unit 234 on May 9th in theaters or on video on demand. And take a look at some of my other films too, because why not?